Hello, I'm Dr. Neil Schultz, and welcome to DermTV. Choosing sunscreens has become just a little bit more confusing recently with the introduction of high or very high SPF sunscreens. I'm talking about SPFs of 80, 90, 100, and even 110. And I'm going to tell you why I don't believe that these very high SPF sunscreens add anything to real practical sun protection. First of all, sunscreens with an SPF of 15 give you 88% of protection from all the burning UVB rays. 30 gives you 95% protection. 60 gives you 99% protection. And once you're up past 60, whether it's 80, 90, or 110, you're not getting any real additional protection from the sun. Now, part of this numbers game is being driven by consumer demand, because consumers mistakenly think that with SPF, at a certain point, if a little is good, more is always better. Well, as you've seen, once you get past 60, you're not getting any additional protection. And quite frankly, when you go from 95% protection to 99% protection, I'm not sure what that extra 4% translates to in terms of practical protection of sunburn or skin cancer. But I do know that as we go up in SPF, usually the thickness or the viscosity, or what I like to call the goopiness of the sunscreen, increases. And as that thickness or goopiness increases, you're much less apt to reapply the sunscreen during the day. And the only way you can get the real SPF value of any of these is to reapply it frequently after you sweat, after you swim, as we've discussed in other episodes. So there are some high SPF sunscreens that are made today that aren't that thick, but by and large, they are fairly viscous, and that again discourages people from reapplying them. Lastly, when you have a very high number SPF, like 110, it suggests to people that they don't need to reapply that sunscreen. That's a false sense of security because, again, to get the full SPF value, regardless of what the number is, you've got to reapply it frequently. Now, to be fair and balanced, there may be one redeeming value to very high SPF sunscreens. The reason that most sunscreens fail is because people just don't put enough on. So if you need an ounce to cover your whole body when you're in a bathing suit, a lot of people don't use that amount. And when they don't, the SPF value falls dramatically, actually to the square root of the SPF, which means a 15 becomes a 4, a 50 becomes a 7, and 100 becomes a 10. Well, if 100 becomes a 10, with an SPF of 10, a real SPF, you're still getting a reasonable amount of protection. But I'm going to maintain my position that I recommend for all of my patients every day using an SPF between 15 and 30 with UVA protection. Please join me again at dermtv.com. If you have a question, please send it to me by visiting dermtv.com/question. I'm Dr. Neil Schultz, and thank you for watching today.